And like ribs, baby, I'm back. Get ready for your weekly dose of nostalgia. Last week, I watched season 2, episode 4 of the Twilight Zone, A Thing About Machines, for the first time. And now I'm back to break it down. Hold on to your britches. The episode opens up with our main character, Finchley, who I assume is coming home from work. And as you can see, with his home, with his pool and several gardens and very nice car, I just assume this means that he's a model citizen, right? And he gives back to the community. He, supports orphanages. Obviously a good person. That's where we are as a society. We automatically knew he was going to be terrible. So he gets out of his Batmobile, right? And as he's walking up, we see that there is already a repairman there, and it says TV repair on the truck. First of all, I miss the days where everything was just very clear as to what they were there for. Ice cream man, TV man. Now you damn near got to decode to figure out what services you get from, you know what? That's another subject. He walks in his house and starts to look around as if he's gonna say, Christina, like, where are my maids? He just looks like a peach of a person. So he walks up to the television repairman, who is hard at work for the 6th time that month. Mind you, all of his machines have started to break. The young man greets him and is like, how you doing today? Finchley is going through his many bills, as we all do. Sometimes we get home from work. But instead of him being like, I'm pretty good, how are you doing? He goes, I'll let you know that when you tell me how much this is gonna cost this time around. First of all, babes, I'm here to do you a favor. I could rob you and go home, but I decided to stay here. That's my thing about people who are rude to service providers. Do you understand that they have your information? Do you understand that they can ruin your life and put you on a no-fly list? Are y'all okay? This is when the repairman says, well, I've been working on this 2 hours. You need a new tube, you need a new oscillator, whatever that is, and a new filter. And of course, Finchley is like, of course, sounds convenient that I need all new parts. Once again, you called me. Are people not afraid to get beat up anymore? I know where you live. I'm just very confused as to why he was treating him like this. So after Finchley is done talking mess, the repairman is like, well, last time I was over here, you kicked your foot through the screen, remember? He didn't tell us that. He says, well, yeah, I kicked it because it wasn't working. This is what I want you kids to understand. This is not like today's televisions, okay? Today's televisions, you can probably kick through them and you'll get a cut or a scratch. The televisions back then, those fought back, okay? These televisions had full glass bulbs on the outside of them. And then on the inside, there was additional equipment and everything was scorching hot. Okay, how are you kicking through the television? And then you're upset that he has to come back yet again to fix it. You're delusional. But when you see how delusional he is when you'll lean in. Stay with me. So you would think that this would make Finchley be like, you know what, you right. No, he doubles down. He's like, you know what? Let's finish this moronic small talk and get down to the larceny. Like, he is completely convinced that this man is scamming him. Even though you kicked your foot through the television, how many more times can I fix it? He even alludes to the fact that this man has been back several times and maybe he needs to call the Better Business Bureau. And this is when I would have gotten fired because I literally would have said, don't worry, babes, I'll call him for you. Give me your phone. Does that work? Is that working right now? But I gotta give it to the repairman because he does not take much from Finchley. He says, all of your stuff doesn't work because you don't treat it properly. Kicking this, throwing it down the stairs, what do you expect? And this is when you see Finchley's facial expression change. And I leaned in. But no, he refuses to be vulnerable like most of our parents. And so he's like, well, you can leave then. And the repairman leaves. But of course, while letting him know, I'll send you the invoice. And I know that's right. Yeah. But before leaving, the repairman goes, Finchley, what is it with you and machines? To which Finchley replies, you know what? I'll answer that in my future memorabilia when I write it in my memoir. He literally tells this man, you know what? I'm gonna name an entire chapter after you and I'm gonna call it the most forgettable person I've ever met. The disrespect is insane, but I cackled because that is some good reading there. And once the repairman closes the door, you can immediately see Finchley lose it. He gets nervous, he starts sweating, his eyebrows start meeting in the middle to give each other comfort. And so I'm thinking to myself, girl, you were just the big bad wolf. Now you over here looking like Piglet. What happened? Where's the fear coming from? Y'all, tuck your feet into your blanket because this is when it gets real. He's going to pour himself a drink, which You know, I just feel like if you're already delusional, do you need to also add alcohol? He pours himself a drink and his clock starts going off. And most of us would just, check the time and say, oh, it must be like 7:30 or 7 p.m. He looks terrified. He looks like he is quite literally about to get jumped. And he looks at the clock and says to the clock, that'll be enough of that, and starts to walk towards it. So I'm like, okay, so just turn the clock off. Well, that's why it's called a thing about machines, because the thing about this machine is that he threw it to the ground and it was still ringing. It was basically dust and still ringing. Why you would throw an antique porcelain clock to the ground is beyond me. But Finchley is shook. In fact, he basically has to pulverize the clock before it stops ringing. Y'all remember that one scene in Family Guy when they took that Surfing Bird CD out and just beat it up? That's what this scene felt like. And this is when Uncle Rod comes on and says that Finchley not only doesn't have any friends, but he's a terrible person who thinks that he is better than anyone who is not in his shoes. And Rod says that he has just entered a realm where muscles and the will to fight back are not limited to just humans. And I leaned in so much, I almost chipped my tooth. In the next scene, we are introduced to a woman named Miss Rogers. And the only reason I know that her name is Miss Rogers is because Finchley goes up to her and goes, Miss Rogers, without even looking. The woman has been typing for 3 hours on an old school typewriter and has typed how many pages? I want you to say how many pages you think she typed out loud. Higher. 30. She typed 30 pages in 3 hours. On my best day, you're not getting 8 pages out of me in 3 hours. That means I did the math. 30 words per minute is 1,800 words in an hour, which would be equivalent to about 6 or 7 pages. So you're telling me an advanced typer would do 6 or 7 pages an hour and this woman did 10? And you going up to her like, do you think that that's enough for Finchley? No. He asked what she's been doing all day if she only got 30 pages done. So this is when he blames her incompetence on the typewriter. He's like, it's that typewriter that you have. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence in half a day and you only got 30 pages done with the typewriter? It's a typewriter. He used a feather quill. Girl, you know what else Thomas Jefferson could do? Poke himself in the finger or get a hangnail and end up dying from gangrene infection. Times change, okay? And this is when Miss Rogers becomes one of my favorite characters because he goes, did I ever tell you the level of distaste I have for insubordination? To which she says, every day, friend. As a matter of fact, how about you go ahead and get yourself a girl with 3 arms? Because I'm out of here. Finchley asks her, and where do you think you're going? As if, like, this is my only option for money. Girl, please. It's the 60s. I can go sell cigarettes somewhere. I don't know what you're talking about. This woman looks him in the face and says something that sounds like a sorority greeting at a probate. She says to him, any place I can get away from the highly articulated, also sophisticated Beau Vivant of America's winers and diners. Baby, I have never heard a read like that, but her cadence absolutely gave pro-fight greeting at a probate. If you know, you know. So this is when Finchley cracks a little bit because he remembers if she leaves, now he's in the house with his bullies. So he's like, please, no. How about you sit down? We can get some dinner. We can chill, go to the theater. She's like, oh, that's so sweet. But no, thank you, girl. I'm getting up out of here because you're actually terrible. And I can go get me a job at the cigarette factory down the street. Period. Because what did Maya Angelou say? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. She didn't have a mid-Atlantic accent, but that's how books always make her sound, so I tried it. I don't care, it didn't sound good, doesn't matter. But before she leaves, he tells her some interesting information. He goes, that television there, the same one that he kicked, it just goes on and off in the middle of the night, and I'm not turning it on and off. And then the radio in my room, the one he threw down the stairs, that also goes on and off. And at this point, it feels like a conspiracy against me. And you can kind of see her go, okay, like, she knows that he's losing it, but she needs to get up out this house before he loses it on her. Then he drops the gem that actually makes her leave. He says, the radio, the television, the clock, even the car that I drive, it just does what it wants sometimes. Yeah. Get lorazepam on the phone. Yeah. And as I have lorazepam on the phone, he says that the car literally turned the wheel as he was parking, made him hit the garage, and it cost him $140. And I hung up the phone from lorazepam because I said, oh yeah, This is what we need. Let's go ahead and drain him dry of all the resources that he has so that he can be a good person. Laraz, girl, I'll call you back. So just when I thought that he couldn't get any dumber, Miss Rogers is like, well, maybe you need to see a doctor about this. You seem really worried. He's like, oh, everybody says go to a stupid doctor. Depressed, see a doctor. Happy, see a doctor. Your salary too low, see a doctor. And I say, yeah, you're getting everything that you deserve. Yeah, this is exactly why you are in your living room right now with the cast of Beauty and the Beast getting beat up. I love this for you. He's like, I'm a logical, rational, intelligent man. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't need to see a doctor. As you scream at inanimate objects and throw things, you're logical, rational, unemotional. You know, Lorazepam, girl, it's me again. So at this point, Miss Roger goes, you know what? Take your L. I don't know what you got going on, but all I know is that all the machines in here are fine. They work with me fine. If you are being bullied by the cast of Be Our Guests, then be my guest. But I'm getting up out of here. Then she hits him with yet another good line. In this mortal combat that you have between these machines, I hope you lose. Baby. Because what did I say? Hold on to your britches. It gets bad. And the second Ms. Rogers closes that door behind her, the typewriter goes off. And I lean in because I'm like, okay, girl, I want to know what you're saying. I already know that he about to get beat up, but what are you saying? Girl, the typewriter is typing, get out of here now, Finchley. The same television that he just yelled about not working now has a woman looking at him while dancing saying, get out of here, Finchley, as his typewriter types, get out of here, Finchley. Baby, give me 14 of them right now. I love it. Delicious. So this freaks him out. He runs upstairs to the top of the staircase and he just yells at the living room, you machines are not gonna intimidate me. Babes, you're hiding behind a staircase. So Finchley goes upstairs to his very nice room in his very nice robe with his very nice ascot. He looked like Fred from Scooby-Doo. Like, sir, you're at home. Do you know that you're at home? Loosen up, girl. Your shoulder's about to meet in the front. You're so stiff. Anyway, he calls one of his friends. He's like, hey, girl, I know it's been a while, but you want to get dinner tonight? Of course, girlfriend on the phone is like, no. In fact, I would not. I haven't heard from you in a while. Also, this is pretty last minute. He's like, well, yeah, the call is last minute because we haven't chatted in a while. She's like, yeah, no, I'm not free tonight, but God bless. So he gets his little black phone book and he calls another person. He picks up the phone and says, how is my favorite young attractive widow doing? I don't know much about algebra, but I do know that if I have not talked to somebody in a while, I'm not gonna start with that. No, ma'am. But Bartlett is delusional, which is why the friends of Beast and Belle are constantly bullying him. So it's obvious that the woman responds, I'm actually married now, because he goes, oh, congratulations, I'm so delighted. I'll send you a wedding present. Y'all, the secondhand embarrassment that I didn't feel, because that's what you get. That's what you get. Y'all, I really want people who do not invest in friendship and who are not like reciprocal friends and family members. I want y'all to understand, this is what you get. You treat people terribly and then you wonder why people move through life without you. This is why. You're trash. So instead of him looking within and saying, you know what, maybe I need to start being a better friend, he looks at the phone and says, telephones, they're all the same. All they do is live to embarrass me. And he throws the telephone on the ground. Is this who we are? Is this what we've become? Are you seriously blaming it on the telephone, babes? Girl, Lorazepam, it's me again, girl. He back. So he goes into his very gaudy bathroom and he starts to gather himself for his nighttime ritual, I'm assuming. Y'all, he picks up a pair of clippers and he turns them on. And as he turns them on, he's kind of looking at them like something's weird is happening. Y'all, the way the clippers Wingardium Leviosa and looked at him back like, and what about it? I'm like, I've always enjoyed Beauty and the Beast, but I enjoyed this version of Beauty and the Beast much more. This is my kind of Beauty and the Beast. You know, we don't need the Stockholm Syndrome. Give us clear bullying. I enjoy that. Bully the bully. And as the clippers are buzzing towards him, he hears a woman's voice go, why don't you get out of here, Finchley? Well, he goes back in his bedroom and the phone that he just broke, yeah, it's not even plugged in, but the woman's voice is coming out of the phone. I can't lean in anymore. Beat him up. So as the woman is screaming, get out of here, Finchley, through the phone over and over again, he hears sirens. So he's like, what is going on in the driveway of my home? That is a Mr. Biggs reference. And if you got that, Go take your vitamins because you're old. I know them knees cracked when you stood up. Well, as he steps outside to one of his 3 driveways, he realizes that the police is there. His car backed out of a driveway and almost hit a child on a bike. And of course, they don't think that the car rode itself. They're like, oh, it must be a brake malfunction or something, yet you need to go and check this out. Now, most people would be like, yeah, you're right. You're like, let me go ahead and figure this out. He gets defensive immediately. He tells them, all right, y'all can go ahead and look at how fantastic my house and car is for another 3.5 minutes. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to call the police, the real police, in 3 minutes. And if I come out here and y'all are still there, they're going to arrest all of y'all. Sir, your car almost hit a minor. Why are you acting like the victim? Baby, the way I was watching this, like Lumiere, Clocksworth, hit him again. He never once says sorry. In fact, he looks at all of them like Scar and Pride Rock and goes, idiots. How they the idiots? See how I get it? I ain't even did nothing. It was your car that almost hit my child. Now, after something like this, most of us will go inside and just lay down. Finchley goes in and has himself not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 drinks of just pure whiskey. Neat. And we know this because they show us where the bottle began and then they show us where it ends. And baby, the way he is tear up, toe up on this couch, laid out, tongue out, eyes about, okay? Immediately when he gets up, the clock starts ringing. But y'all have to remember, he broke the clock and threw it away. So there is no clock. Literally, it's just the dust residue of the clock ringing. And like clockwork, the typewriter goes off and just starts right. Get out of here, Finchley, over and over again. Now, I'm trying to understand why he still stayed in that house after this. I just believe that you should move. And then I remembered he said, machines have always done this to him. So you've always been bullied by machines because you are a terrible person. And instead of you changing, I don't know, your attitude, you just always just moved and changed locations. But baby, you always need machines in your house. The television in the other room also starts to go off and has several people yelling, get out of here, Finchley. To which he responds by not kicking it this time. He did learn from that. I'm sure he got lacerations on that leg. He takes a chair and he throws it through the television. Now, if I was that repairman, don't call me no more. Because this is your 3rd time, okay? Which means you don't need to see me. You need to see a psychiatrist. And yet again, Lorazepam, are you on your way? So after doing that to his television, instead of him walking out of the door, he walks back upstairs, and what meets him at the top of the staircase? His clippers. The clippers have traveled from the bathroom to the top of his staircase and are now coming towards him. Y'all, he finally does what me, the television, and the typewriter have been saying the whole time, was to get out of there. He leaves out the front door, and what meets him? His car. His car has done an entire U-turn on its own and is now staring at him at his front door. And what's insane about this is he starts to walk towards the car. And I go, do you understand that you can get hit by that car? These are 1960s cars. These are the cars that they made with real metal. Okay, this is well before they were doing plastic cars. Baby, this is when cars were Ford tough for real. You get hemmed up in one of those cars, you're not getting out. That's it. That's why they had to change them to plastic, so they can prop people out after accidents. And you are running towards that car that's coming towards you, that's alive, you're insane. But after Christine backs up and gets some leverage, she starts rolling right towards him. And I say, exactly, now you really have to run. That Christine reference is for people of a particular age. Children, there is a movie about a haunted car named Christine. You must go and watch it. I will not break it down, but you should definitely watch it. Y'all, this car chases him around his entire yard. And for some reason, instead of him running the way people in DC were directed to run during that sniper incident of the zigzags, he is just running straight ahead. So the car is just gaining speed on him because it doesn't have to turn. And yes, that was a real thing. Yeah, people really were instructed to walk and run zigzag. So he runs towards the pool. Now remember, not only is Finchley terrified, but he's also drunk because he just had an entire bottle of whatever 1960 Hennessy he drank. He stands on the side of the pool and the car just keeps coming towards him. So he falls back in the water, and in the water, you can just see the car looking at him at the top of the pool, and it just slowly fades to black. The next day, the press, police, and unfortunately the coroner are out there, and they have Finchley in the back of an ambulance truck, and unfortunately it is fully covered because he passed away. And the doctor and the police are like, you know, it's a shame. Maybe he was drunk, but the neighbors said they heard him screaming all night and he sounded terrified. Yeah, he did. Mind y'all, the whole time this is going on, his car is just right behind the ambulance, just basically watching this the whole time. And Rod Serling comes on and says, unfortunately, the explanation for this case is with the deceased, and you can file it under M for machines. Well, as Rod Serling's self-acclaimed black play niece, I'm actually filing this under yeah, because I was so satisfied with this, period. Y'all need to start treating people right. I want this for more billionaires and bullies. I want you to start getting harassed by every single machine in your home until you are forced to dive into a swimming pool. I love that for him. And as for me, I thank my Alexa and Siri every time they do something for me because I have what? Respect.